people-led a revolution or whatever, change or whatever you frame it, without political power will bring a repeat of 2017. I want to bring you back to the definition of political power. And this is by a very well-known thinker in political science called Hannah Arendt. And he says, political power is when people come together and act in concert. Political power, people come together, act in concert or in unison. Now, all the other things that you want to happen to create an organized political party that is powerful, an opposition party, it needs to be created by people. There are other people who don't care about political things. For me, I don't want to do politics, but I know there are certain areas that are political. I'll probably do very well in civil society that would need to be led by people as well. And if you look at MDC, it had a lot of that around it. But all of these other elements that need to be created, and Signor is very right that there is an economic revolution that needs to happen, but it's not the only one, it's part of it. And people are supposed to champion it there to say, but for the past 20 years, I've been working in finance, and I know what needs to change in my country. Can I gather with other people, create an institution that speaks on the ills that are happening in our country and propose for solutions of when we get to a good... The other people who are working on giving us freedom can do that, but us parallel, we are actually setting up to say these are the structures, infrastructure, ideology, or systems that are going to be implemented such that on that we are distributing things that have already been thought of. So I sorry for going in that direction. But my point there is, for me, the first step is to deal with the people. The people need to be in that moment where we say, when we are coming up now to suggest something that needs to be done, it's something that you are going to be actively doing it because you look at your own set of skills and you look at the problem and say, I can bite this part of the pie. But if we just speak at a very large, obtuse perspective that somebody else is supposed to be doing it, and yet your 10 fingers and 10 toes are free, who's going to be doing it? So for me, I will come back and give details. We have to deal with the people problem that we have, why we have been shackled into lack of action. Human reaction always says flight, freeze, or fight. At this moment, we need to kick into fight, but we are stuck on the freeze. And some people like me, we have fled. But the fight, it's failing to come. How do we get our people to ignite that so that everything else that is then built, it's not going to be questions. People already agree on certain things. People already know on the direction. People know what needs to be institutionalized. And when those people gather into a political movement, there are people who are saying, I'm here because I want to do this, not because Uncle Jet is there. Who is Uncle Jet? I'm here because I know I can do this, and this is what I've been doing with a team of people, and this is what we can contribute. And somebody else, oh, we are also doing the same. We don't need to compete. Let's actually synergize and we bring our things together. But it can only be done if we deal with the people. If you want that, then you can bring me back and I can say, how do we deal with the people? Otherwise, other people can suggest whatever they want to suggest.
Right. Okay. Right. So in my introduction, I spoke about organized political power. That an organized political power can remove a system. I'm not discounting the citizens. The citizens, us as citizens, we can do what we can do. We can protest. We've spoken about withdrawing our consent. We can do that. We can create political pressure. We've spoken about that. Some people have even said, let us force a crisis. These are the things that citizens can do. Even if you manage to create a crisis in Zimbabwe, but that is not a transition. We are creating a crisis. We are creating an opportunity. We are creating something that opens a window so that whoever is organized enough to step through that window becomes the new authority. So when I brought in 2017, I was speaking to that if you look at what ZANU-PF did using their constitution, that speaks to an organized political structure that stepped in and said, oh, you have removed Robert Mugabe, but this thing is ours. Because our constitution says this. And our internal constitution provides a remedy, a prescription for who the next leader is going to be. Because when you are having organized political power, the only system under an organized political power that can replace a system with another system is when you have got institutions that are strong, when you're supported by legal frameworks, when you've got an administrative machinery that can put things in motion. Some of these things, us as citizens, I'm just giving a few examples. Some of these things, us as citizens, we do not possess. But we're expecting that the opposition has to be in a position to be possessing, these things. But if you look at Zimbabwe, we removed Robert Mugabe, but we did not remove, ZANU-PF. Even if you look at the motion that was moved, in Parliament, the impeachment motion that was moved in Parliament, it was focused on Robert Mugabe. It was not focused on ZANU-PF, right? So if we succeed in removing Emerson Mnangagwa, right now, that is not to say that we have removed, ZANU-PF, right? So what I'm trying, to say is, if you are speaking about organized political power, we are talking about institutions that can be in a position to undertake negotiations that can lead to transitions. We're talking about setups that can form the next government, setups that can control ministries, setups that can rewrite laws, rebuild institutions, and command legitimacy. So without these things, or what we end up having, it will be chaos. And that chaos gets filled by the strongest existing institution. I'm not saying that ZANU-PF is the OMA, but I'm talking about in terms of that organized entity. They possess that. You understand? So one thing that our opposition has often led, which I've always referred to when I speak, to other people. Kuti, in opposition politics, for as much as we want to say that, they are a democratic alternative, they themselves, they've lacked internal democracy. They themselves, they lacked a clear succession plan. They themselves, in terms of depth in, policy depth, tell me the policies that these guys, you put, forward, and you tell me which policy you can say they crafted the policy that is depth. Tell me what it is that they've put in place that has ensured institutional continuity. Tell me how many transformation, how many morphing into another entity altogether have we experienced, in Zimbabwe? Speak about strategic, discipline. Speak about organizational infrastructure. Still, even you speak about a credible shadow government. We have been told that, we now have a shadow government. But tell me what that shadow government has succeeded in doing, even though there were individuals that were named to say, we didn't shadow that, I just shadow that. But the tragedy that we have had in Zimbabwe, which I want us to, to understand, and hopefully maybe it can get us to a rethink of this political responsibility. We have leaned heavily on charismatic leadership, citizen mobilization, moral arguments, this, is a spiritual, language, if I can bring it in, popularity, rather than, having structures, etc, etc. What these things can do is they create movements, ladies and gentlemen, that are emotionally powerful, but when it comes to the aspect of an institution, they are institutionally weak. So when the moment arrives, when the moment that we are calling for a transition arrives, these people, they are found wanting, they are not ready to govern. And at the end of the day, we end up experiencing that which we experienced in 2017. A default, the system just defaults back to what is that? So that was what I meant when I spoke about organized political power. And that is where I'm coming from, with this. I mean, this is something that I was, looking at since morning, trying, but these are some of the things that I've researched, some of the things that are coming, from my own opinion and coming from my own reading of the environment, in Zimbabwe. Because some of these things, are true. Because one thing that I believe has let us down as a people or those who are in the opposition, one thing that has let the opposition down is our politics in the opposition has been personality driven politics. And that right there weakens the ability of the opposition to act as a credible alternative in a government. Because we are playing to the whims of the leader. We are playing to the gallery, and that gallery is the leader. And when things gets wrong, or when I mean when things go pear shaped with the leader, then everything goes haywire, goes sideways. So we need to start to think about making that transition from personality driven politics to institutional driven politics. Because for as long as we continue with the structural weaknesses, then we are going to have the opposition struggling to prepare for power. And we are going to have a situation that the citizens become the shock absorbers. Everything gets outsourced now. The risk is being outsourced to the citizens instead of them who would have said. Right now, we have got people that say we are the alternative. But when it comes to wanting to be confronting the state themselves as it is supposed to be confronted, we're not seeing much of a movement, right there. It is because of the dangers of a leader-centric movement. When a movement revolves around individuals, the institutions themselves do suffer. And that is the story of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's opposition has become too dependent on leaders rather than on building durable institutions and durable structures that will ensure that aspects of accountability, remain, intact. People are, held to their duties. People are performing, their constitutional roles. Is it oversight? Is it alternative policy? Is it readiness, to govern? Because when we do decide and say whoever is going to be holding the opposition accountable when they fail to fulfill their duties, it is us, the citizen, because we know there is this entity here. The same way we are trying to hold ZANU-PF to account is the same way that we should be trying to be holding the opposition, to account. Because we are the engine. These are vehicles. ZANU-PF as a party is a vehicle. The opposition, whatever structure it is, or whatever animal that comes out of the opposition is a vehicle. But the citizens are the engine. But these two, for them to be in a position to work, there has to be a collision in the most possible sense. So when we rise again, Let us rise in a situation whereby there's never going to be a 2017.